to this main workflow. This is the entire piece that you see over here. Okay, so I have a chat message received. This is the main trigger, open chat. It opens up, you can start asking questions. For this AI agent, I have a detailed system prompt on how to answer this question. To give you a gist of the main problem statement that we are trying to solve for this case, but this can be solved, you can do it for finance, for legal, healthcare. You choose what documents you want to play around with. Okay, this is my Google Drive, which this AI agent system is tracking. It has got a CSV file. This is customer product dataset. This is a CSV file. This is a PDF containing all the returns policies for my e-commerce brand. Now, I understand that if there is CSV, which is structured data, and I have unstructured data as well. With unstructured data, we understand the problems with retrieval. I want to implement a solid retrieval mechanism, and I have a schematic sum agent. Get, add, update data from your Postgres. Not yet. Okay. So this is pretty simple. Let me show you quickly. So how many of you have worked on Supabase? Supabase is essentially, AI endpoints yourself. You have a data, something that you very, very easy. So essentially, this is what system, okay? So when you're using Postgres here, let's say any execute SQL query, when you start, so it could be on your local system, but nobody wants to like set up local system Postgres and all those things. You want it to be online somewhere. So just create an account on Supabase. I won't cover that. I've already created an account. So it's pretty simple. Google sign in and you would be inside. It'll ask you to create an organization. You go to the dashboard. I have one single organization as of now. This is all free. I'm not paying for anything. So in this organization, I have like, these are my projects. Okay. So for example, this is my RAGDB project. And in this, it gives you like a lot of information, what all you have in your system, etc. This left-hand side panel is where everything gets stored. The main database, the table editor. So if you look at database, this is your complete schema. I have these, if you see, I have documents, document rows, document metadata, and then I have this customer product data set. This customer product dataset I created automatically using Anytime. I didn't do anything here. But here I'm going to show you how you can run Postgres SQL query, which you are not writing. AI agent is going to write SQL. Everything is going to be done by Anytime and the AI agent that you're using. But how do you go about running your Postgres on Supabase? That's the most important part, because you need a database. That's a requirement here. So if you go to tables, these are all my tables. If you check out the table editor from the left hand side panel, these are all the tables that I have. I'm not using all of them. This is the one. Customer product datasets and Anytime chat histories. These are all the session IDs for the AI agent. So I'm using Postgres as my session storage. It will always fetch for same keys. So you can you see all of these are same keys, same session ID, right? So this was from one single interaction. I was testing the system and it was storing all the session IDs in this Postgres database. Now, how would you go about? You can update, I need to update the RLS policies. It's currently all public, but let's try to understand how would you go about connecting your Supabase, and Supabase is all Postgres under the hood. This is all Postgres database, okay? I need host, database, user, password, SSL, port, all of these details. When you come here on Supabase, click on this connect button at the top. From this connection string, you have method, which is direct connection. No, I want a session pooler. You will select this session pooler string. here you will get all the parameters that you need. If you open up this view parameters within your session pooler connection string, I have the host. So can you all see that Supabase is also hosted on AWS? So they're also using, whatever you do on the internet, it's just Microsoft, Google, or Amazon which are making money. So here, host, I'm going to change this local host. This is going to be my URL. This is the system. Okay, host is done. Port is 5432. This is same. We already have 5432 set up. So Postgres by default runs on 5432. Database Postgres. For us also, database is Postgres. User also in this case is Postgres. What is the user? User is this. So I'll copy the user and I'll change the user. So I'll add that password here if I remember. Password. So I already have set my password for this database. So I'll add that password here if I remember. I think I have already set it up. I'm forgetting the password. So when you create your new project, the database will ask you to create a password. Just ensure that you're saving that password somewhere. I create something which I don't remember right now, but yeah, I already have this credential, luckily. So nothing else to change. This is done. You save it, your credentials are going to get saved. I think yeah, it was something okay, but I have this PG Supabase Postgres. This is the one. So if I want to, let's say, do something here, any changes, etc. So if I do select star from let's say, which is customer product, or let's say end-to-end chat histories. This is the table, end-to-end chat history. This is the table name. So select star from chat histories. This query basically means that I want to fetch all the rows from end-to-end chat histories table. Okay. So if you execute 6 items, can you see 6 items at the top? These are 6 rows from this table. So you've connected your Postgres. So wherever you see this Postgres, most of the people are actually running it on Supabase. But Supabase query, there are dedicated Supabase nodes as well. Though. Okay, done. Let's go back to our system. So I have structured data, customer product data set, this. Now you don't have to run anything. This data ingestion pipeline is going to take care of this ingestion. Supabase tables, everything is going to be handled by this entire pipeline. The pipeline at the top that you see, let's go over it step by step. This pipeline is for structured data going into Postgres database. I have 2 different files as I showed you, structured data, unstructured data. This data ingestion pipeline is totally based on 2 systems, file created and search for files and folders. This is like a manual trigger that I added because I didn't want to like wait for this system. This is a trigger provided by Google Drive, how frequently you want to check for any changes or any new files in your Google Drive. As soon as you add a new file, this workflow will get triggered from here. That's it. This is the main trigger that we are going to be using. So it will continue to poll your Google Drive folder. If you see, trigger on, changes involving a specific folder. There are 2 triggers that n8n provides in Google Drive. One is changes to a specific file, changes involving a specific folder. So you can track specific files also. If you, let's say, all of your orders data is getting into one single Google Sheet, you can track one single specific file. That any changes, any new rows that are added there, they're going to be captured there. Yes, roughly. So Google Sheet you add in the Google Drive itself. As soon as that is updated, automatically this gets triggered. Okay. And you can also changes involving a specific folder. So if I add anything new in that folder, then also it'll get triggered. This is the one that we are using here. As soon as if I add anything new in my system, in my folder, this is going to trigger the entire pipeline. Then I am checking for structured data or unstructured data. So when this search folder, this file is going to read. So if I run this, it's going to check for any file created. Currently, I obviously do not have all of those things, but it'll check for the type, which file, etc. that you've added, and this MIME type, the JSON MIME type that we are checking from here. If it is of this type, app spreadsheet, that means this is like structured data that we are fetching. So automatically, this route is going to get triggered. If you see, it has read the structured data. And if it is some sort of text, CSV, PDF, etc., all of those things, then it is going to get into graph RAG text ingestion, which is using our light RAG system. Okay. So unstructured data is going to go here and structured data is going to go over here. And this is going to be running into a loop. If you are getting like multiple structured data, you're going to fetch all those and then update the entire system. So here, loop over this entire thing, download the file. Once the file is downloaded, you extract the data from the file, code. So this is a JavaScript code that we have written to fetch. I'll give you this entire workflow. It just fetches all the records from your CSV. This again, we use AI to write this code. And once you are here, it will execute this SQL query, the entire query, create table. If not, so it will automatically, this is a query that we have written. This automatically creates the table if it doesn't exist. So in your Supabase, if there is no table, it'll create it. If there is, it won't create it. It will directly add your rows into your Supabase table. And this workflow, when you run, I already have the 200 records in my system. So yeah, if you see at the bottom, there are 200 records in the Google Sheet that we have. So I already have this data ingested. That's it. For GraphRag, if you do it, this becomes active. You have one item coming in. So there are multiple PDF files. So I've added this loop. So multiple times. So every single unstructured data file is going to get processed through this entire system. It is going to set the file ID, etc., all of those things that are required. Download the PDF text from here, and it's going to upload to your Lightrag server. Okay. So here, can the record be PDF files? I don't understand. These are records. This is structured data itself. Okay. So if it is structured data, which is CSV, etc., all those different types, then automatically it's going to get updated through the structured pipeline. Can the RAG be PDF only? Yes, if you want it to be. Otherwise, you can have Google Doc or anywhere you are getting unstructured data from, you'll be able to handle it. But if you want it to be specifically PDF oriented, then yes. Okay. Now, this again downloads the file, then uploads it to Lightrag. Now, the important thing is, how do you go about hosting this Lightrag server? There's no service which is providing this Lightrag system, but there is this implementation. It's an open source project. This is the GitHub URL. And I'll also give you like a step-by-step workflow of what all we are about to do here. So you don't have to replicate with me, but I'll show you that this is the main project. So Lightrag, this is the main GitHub repository. I'll share the link in the chat that we are going to be hosting. We're going to deploy this entire pipeline, this entire Lightrag framework that we have just discussed, all the 6-7 steps, and we'll just upload documents, and everything else is going to be handled by the Lightrag system. So this is the complete code base for Lightrag. Now we need to understand how to actually go about deploying it. Okay, so if you scroll down in their documentation, there are currently these Docker images available. All we are going to do is we're going to pick these Docker images and we're going to deploy it directly. We won't have to touch any line of code. For deploying, we are going to use render.com. So this is again a cloud service provider. Yes, you can deploy it anywhere. It's a Docker image. Once you have a Docker image with you, you can deploy it anywhere. People who do not understand Docker, so let's say you have a code base, you have a project. This is the only tricky part of, okay, I think. Yeah, so let's say you have a project. In this project, you have multiple files, changes, okay, and you all must have faced this issue that your code is running. Sometimes the system is running on your local system when you give it to a team member, but they are not able to run it on their machine. Right? Those are the kind of issues that you run into. So the author, the creator of Docker, they were basically like, can we containerize the entire code base in such a way that if I give this container to somebody, they should be able to run it anywhere. There would be some software that they would replace JS, CSV, text, all of these different files, everything that we have in this entire project, software engineering project. This is like complete code base. I am going to containerize. So you call it containerize this, and they created a specific system which they called Docker. So these containers are called Dockers. And people, what they did, they were like, okay, if this entire code base is containerized, then can I just directly pick the container? I don't have to write any single line of code. I'll just do some configuration, and you just start deploying and start using it. I'm not going to look into what you've written. Yes. So here, what we did, so you create a render3 account. I already have this created. And when you create a new project, here, you have to choose web service. You're going to use web service. Here, You see existing image, you have Git provided, you can directly deploy from Git here if you have a GitHub repository, but this repository is not ours. You have public Git repository, there will be a lot of configuration that you'll still have to do. And then there is existing image. So LiteRag already has a bunch of Docker images that you can just pick and start running. And this is one Docker image. They have already provided these Docker images. And you can just deploy this directly. I will paste this Docker image URL they have provided here. Deploy an image from a Docker registry. This is a Docker registry URL. It's already present in Docker registry. Docker registry is basically Docker Hub. Python in a system, some models. So there are a lot of images. It's kind of like GitHub, but for Docker containers, Docker images. So LiteRag, the entire code base that you're seeing on this GitHub repository, all of these files, everything somebody has condensed, have given you one single URL and said that you can just deploy it anywhere and start using. That's what essentially it does. And when you start, you just need to add this. Credential is optional. We won't need to add anything here. Okay, connect. This is done. Project, no project. Select environment, nothing. This is the region. I'm going to select free, upgrade to enable. So I'm already on like free tier. I don't think it'll allow me. So, but that's it. You provide this URL, you select hobby project free, and then a bunch of environment variables. That's the only part, that's the only tricky part that you are going to need to set up in your deployment. And for this, you have to go to your GitHub repository in LiteRag. And from here, they've given you env.example, all the environment variables. So these environment variables are nothing but your API keys, authentication tokens, what embedding models you're using, what LLM you're using, all the 6 steps that I talked about. You have to give all those resources to LiteRag. The models, embedding model, the graph model, the re-ranking model, everything. Okay, so env.example, this is the one that we are going to be using. From here, I have already done it, so I'll just show you this part from my project. This is the project first. So you see, I have already deployed this one. This is the URL that I got. From the left-hand side, I can check all the environment variables. And these are all the variables that I have. I'll give you like the complete, obviously this contains my API keys and everything, but I'll give you the documentation, the instructional guide that I'll give you. You will have everything there. So you just have to like copy all of these, and it's very easy to like add environment variables. So if you're like editing new variable, you can add. So let's say there are 4 variables like this. Okay, environment name of the variable, value. And all of these, they have already given some examples of what all the system needs. So if I say that, okay, you want to add three different environment variables, you can just paste it. You come here, you paste 3. This one is hashtag prefix. Let me clean it up. Copy, and you just come on render. You see all 3 in their specific. So you can just, I will give you all of these. I think these are like 20 environment variables that I'm using, and it's everything. You need a re-ranking model. I'm using Cohere for re-ranking. You need embedding models, so you have embedding as well. Cosine threshold, etc. All of these values are going to be provided in the instructional document. You just copy that entire thing, come here, paste it. All your environment variables are going to be set up. But I'll tell you which ones you will have to provide your own keys. So there are going to be a few where you'll have to add your password, your API keys, you'll have to customize those. And once you do that, so I will delete these. I don't need to make any changes. Once you do that and you start deploying, within 1 or 2 minutes, your LiteRag URL will be given to you. This is my LiteRag URL, the web UI. And you remember, I just uploaded the document here. So upload document, you can upload it directly from this URL. Now LiteRag is hosted on your render server. Okay, so this is done. And when you check this is the pipeline that shows you what all it has done. Chunk, it has created like, these 5 chunks, then merging, all of those things, the complete pipeline. This is the list of documents that you are going to upload. Okay, and so the storage would be dependent on the compute that you've used on render, the free service. So depending upon the hosting service, if your compute is larger on AWS or whatever VPS you're using, so that would define. Okay, so this is the knowledge graph, and this entire document is now, these are your nodes: PrimeGear, ProLine, Innovate Pro, Ultraband. These are all the related products that we have. So you see Minu, the Minu is the name of the e-commerce brand. These are all the products that they offer, all green. If you come here, you have customer, and related node is support. If you come further down, Minu Company, support@minucompany.com. If you see the orange ones, the websites, all of the website, newsletter, etc., all of them are here. And further, there was, what is this? Yes, look at this. This is another graph. Size and color product is non-returnable. Which of these products are non-returnable? And there is one relationship here. Discount, sales, and promotions and are connected together in this knowledge to the API. How will we connect this to our N8N that you have deployed? So you see in my ingestion pipeline, with GraphReg text ingestion, this is what I am using to upload documents directly from my Google Drive to this Lightrag API that I've just deployed. So this render, Lightrag automatically gives you this API. And the one endpoint that we need to use is this query endpoint. Post request, if you come down and click on execute, you can copy this entire curl command. Everything is set up. You can copy this entire curl and you can import this curl here. So if I open this up, you can use this import curl, paste it here, and that curl command, sorry, not this, but this is exactly what I'm using. This is the upload endpoint. The query endpoint is what I'm using in the AI agent. So if you want to upload the document through your Google Drive, this system, you are going to be using one of the upload endpoints, which is this one. So upload, choose file, and then you execute. This is going to upload, and the URL, etc., is going to be given when you just execute this. For now, I have already automated this. When I'll give you this JSON, everything is going to be set up for you. You just simply will have to change the credentials and it'll start running for you. Within the upload, the only thing is the API key, the password. So I already have this set up as password, so it's going to be simple. This password is already set up in my environment variable. The X API key that I just showed you, whatever password you're going to set up in Lightrag implementation, that is exactly the same. So here as well, description. In the main AI agent, if it gets a query related to the project, related to your policies, then it would automatically know that we need to look at the GraphRag. So this one, if you see the URL, this is the query URL. This is going to retrieve the right elements, the relevant text. So this query is automatically fetched by your AI agent when it is required to answer questions related to policies. And in my system prompt, I have given the entire routing. So AI agent will still play a huge role. Okay, so you're a master data analyst. Your primary role is to provide all of these details. You give them access to like structured data, unstructured data, which all tools to use, what type of queries are going to come. Everything is mentioned in the system prompt. So when I give it to you, obviously you'll have all these details in your system automatically running. So if I open chat now, this is my complete system. So let's start testing this, and we'll keep an eye on the AI agent. There's one other system that I've added, which I forgot to talk about, which is get database schema. So if I'm asking, if there are like a lot of tables and within those tables there are a lot of columns, the AI agent should first get information about what all columns there are, what all tables you have in your database. So I created a separate workflow, SQL RAG. So this is another, like when executed by another workflow, this is a workflow which is triggered by my AI agent. And this simply gives you all the table names and their information, columns, etc. It gives you the complete schema. Schema is all the tables in your Supabase. So what all I have here, and inside each table, what all columns, before answering any question, it will see what the database schema is, which query, what sort of table names I need to use in my SQL query. So it'll fetch the schema, and then it will prepare the SQL query to get you that information. So for example, if I open chat, let's first test this on structured data, and then we'll test it on textual unstructured data. If I say that, give me the highest payment from this data, details about, okay. So let's check this. So session is first created, execute SQL query, again LLM, order ID. So it has given you all the details, order ID, customer name, total amount. Let's check if this is correct or not. This is my customer, and in this entire table, now you see I have not provided any information about what amount, what revenue, what payment. There is no column which says payment in this entire data set. But I have something called total amount, which is the amount that the customer has paid for that order. So now within this, I have 4450, but this is not the order ID that it gave us. This is 0086. Our response was order 0023. So if I go over here, go to the second page, Command F, 0023. Or 4845. I think it's just Search is not working, but 4845. Yeah, this is the row and order 0023 and rest of the information. I personally checked this. There is no amount which is bigger than this. Yes. So editing, etc., all of those details you'll have to check. You can do all those things. So if I want, for example, looking at this data, one of the analytics people do, analysts are required to do is, let's say, total revenue. Okay, let's do aggregate. Give me total revenue in November 2024. So total revenue, November 2024, 18,684. Can you give me all the records for the same? This should also check that the sessions are being fetched correctly. So order ID, all the orders, 7 orders are returned to you. And all the records placed in November 2024. Got it. These won't. SQL is faster, yeah. So this is for structured data. And now if I fetch, let's say, let's do one other thing. If I try to fetch something, let's say, what is your return policy? So now it should not, obviously it should know that which particular tool needs to be fetched. The return policy for document Minu company allows the customers a 30-day window for hassle-free returns of the date so-and-so. OpenAI chat model. Is this? Let's ask something specific from our graph rag. So if I open this up, send headers, chat input. Should be naive, okay. So for validation, etc., you will have to, like for now, you will have to do it yourself manually to check the retrieval part of it. But there are tools that you can leverage. But that again comes in when you are operating at scale. So there are RAG evaluation frameworks, RAGAS, and there are some other frameworks that you can leverage. But it all comes down to your golden data set. You'll have to prepare a data set for which, like, what sort of information, what are good answers for some of the queries. So you create that data set, and against it, you will be evaluating the results. So there could be like an automated system which will put your agent into a simulation and will check using LLMs only how close they are, how close the responses are compared to your benchmark data set. So yeah, these are the policies. Let's continue to check something. GST tax ID, let's say if I want to fetch, what is the GST number for your company? I think it's there is some issue with the RAG pipeline. Why is it not in my system prompt? I think it's a little, I just need to tweak my prompt. Choose this path for question about unstructured information. Summary is noise base. Use graph rag tool to fetch all the information about company policies, company details, FAQs, etc. Company details, financial details, etc. Okay, come out, save this. I'll have to close this. I'll refresh. The number 8 that it has retrieved. Well, there is disconnect. Great. So ask some queries. So okay, so you want whether it is able to handle total revenue from month of January 2024. I don't know if I'm very ambiguous. Great. Coherent requires very problem expected. Your number of documents, precise, some all of those, and it does it like you once knowledge of them and say that through part one step down. You query 3 created, and they look all. Let me know if you a complete walkthrough of light rag in a nutshell. That it again starts off with chunking a graph you're not abstract and the thematic processing the knowledge. We have to summary them, summarize everything, store all those text segments there, and this becomes our search dictionary. So anywhere return policy is mentioned, I will have all of the text segments from my entire document right there, corresponding to one single key. Duplication. So we have this deduplication happens to policies automatically. The we have identified, we'll just add them. There are new relationships, we'll add them. That's it. Low level retrieval. Okay, how do you treat heart diseases with these symptoms? Then out of the two will give us better answer. It's going to give us that specific number that we are looking for. So that's where this is better than the naive RAG, which is like simple embedding based model. Okay, so that is like step. There was no step 7, step 6 only, but yeah, step 7 is just like hybrid mode. All clear, everyone? What is LightRag and how to implement it? How to use it? This is a simple system that you all can now build. The API, etc. This once you host it using render, these API keys, etc. Everything, the environment variables, I will give you all these. You just have to copy and paste. That's what I have also done. And all of this I was able to understand using this example document. I understand it, but my job is to make it easy for all of you so that you can start just hosting it very quickly. It took me to figure out, okay, the kind of environment variables that are required. I did like a bunch of it took me like 6-7 hours to figure out what I'm doing wrong. There was I was stuck. So now we have figured all those things out from a number of implementations. So I will give you this complete set of environment variables that just work. Okay, so everyone clear so far? Any other doubts you need? Okay, so you just have to follow it step by step. Once you implement it yourself, it's going to be very easy. Access to open it.
Is Reena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.